Great, great. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are from or what time it is. Let me introduce my panel real quick. My name again is Greg Stuart. I'm the CEO of the Mobile Marketing Association. I've got Michael Collins, CEO of Joule. I got Brian Colbert.
Either one's fine.
Colbert, VP of Mobile at Pandora. Richy Glassberg, Chief Operating Officer of Medialets. Michael Bayle, Mobile Director at ESPN, and then Marcus Startzel, GM of North America from Millennial Media. So listen, let's look at the stats, a year of mobile. So eMarketer has come out. They adjusted their numbers this year. This last year, 2012, they had originally projected $2.6 billion for the total mobile category. They upped that to $4 billion towards the end of the year, which was 180% over the year before. They're projecting for 2013, $7 billion. And by 2015, we're to be at, funny enough, $15 billion for a mobile business. So let me put the question out there, because Bill introed it, Mike Donahue set us up here. You know, is this year of mobile? Is it not the year of mobile? What's going on? Where are we as an industry?
Sure, I think there have been many years of mobile. I think we could look at the year when mobile first became accepted as a mass marketing channel, which is probably 2008 or 2009. Or the year we first passed $1 billion in revenue, or as the industry, or multiple billion. There are going to be many other milestones the industry hits. I think it's probably more appropriate to look at it as we're entering the age of mobile. You know, if you look at the proliferation of devices, both in form factor and numbers, if you look at the percentage of content consumption now taking place in mobile devices, which is well into double digits, and even mobile's integration into other channels. You know, we heard the broadcast panel beforehand talk multiple times about the importance of cross-screen integrating to mobile and prints. You know, the number of print publications going over to tablets, and even with all that activity, we're seeing a whole new set of behaviors evolving, both traditional media behaviors evolving and all new behaviors being created. You know, when you take all that together, it's, you know, we're definitely in this part of the ad world moving into a new stage. I think it's much more of an age, much more of a process that we're really just at the beginning of. So it won't be boring. I think we have some exciting times ahead.
Hey, Michael Bayle, let me ask you, because you know ESPN is going to be out on the front end of sort of consumer interaction. So how is ESPN, just for example, to the agency and or marketers in the room, defining sort of mobile as a part of the media mix that you look at? What's happening?
I mean, it was well said earlier, in as much as sports is live, and when you think of the intersection of you wishing to find the scores and watch the content, it's inevitable that you're in mobile. And to put in perspective, for ESPN Digital, we reach close to 64 million people in the United States. 39% of them, so 24 million people, exclusively access us through mobile tablets and mobile phones. So it's quite a pronounced audience. We definitively believe it's the age of mobile.
Right, and haven't you even come out, how does the company even come out and say that it's a mobile-first world for you? Isn't that how they define and part the strategy?
Yeah, and as much as our expectation of our fans is to get live content, and even in certain areas like Sundays where we don't carry the NFL games, our colleagues at CBS, Fox, and NBC have that luxury, we still have 10 million fans who access our products, particularly for fantasy, for scores, to watch access to other games. So when we look at the context as how we create the programming and the content, mobile has to be foremost in our ideas.
And Brian, let me ask about Pandora, because a lot of people don't know here. Pandora was absolutely not a mobile company to begin, and yet you're clearly, I think the public markets have clearly identified you as a mobile company today, correct?
Yes.
Why? What's happened there in Pandora? What's been that transition since the first iPhone app?
Well, I think you know, you look at phones and mobile devices as a whole, and the technology has changed, you know, so fast, and they're so great now in terms of what they can do, that we really have become a mobile company. I think a couple of years ago, if you go back probably 3 or 4 years, we were probably 20% of our consumption was mobile, and now it's close to 80%. And so for us, we've really had to think about the market as, you know, really being platform agnostic. We don't look at our audience in terms of screens anymore. It's just digital content. That's where we're trying to encourage our advertisers to think that way as well.
So why? So guys, I mean, I really want to address head on. You know, why does this concept of you know, the year of mobile that, you know, we've been I mean, I went to a conference about 2 years ago when I first came on to the MMA, and I walked into a room and like this. The only sentence I heard, the first sentence I heard was, you know, the year of mobile comment. Like, it's so pervasive, it's gotten ridiculous. So why?
I think they made a big mistake. I think mobile is a thread throughout the entire consumer interaction. I think mobile in the last 3 years has grown so far and so deep into the consumers' lives with the new product lines and the advance of the smartphones. Our company is set up completely for mobile and tablet and connected devices, and we frankly are ignoring the online. We look at the stats, within 18 months, probably sooner, more people are going to enter the internet from a mobile device than from a desktop device. That's going to totally blow away the business models of the agencies today because mobile doesn't work the same way online does. It's a different user experience for the consumer. They're more integrated. They can touch, feel, swipe, engage with it. The technology underpinning the delivery of the ads and the creation of the ads are different. And I would put it out there for the audience that if you are an agency today, you need to be diving headlong into mobile because it's going to run you over very quickly. And it's not waiting for the year of the mobile, it's realizing that mobile is through every consumer's interaction with your brand today.
So Marcus, let's take Millennial for a moment. You're arguably maybe the largest mobile pure play out there. Certainly went public this last year, so awful lot of attention, good market cap, all good. So how do you guys look at what you bring to advertising? I mean, do you still see this year of mobile dynamic, or are your clients like over it, we're on board? I don't know. Give me some perspective there.
Yeah, I almost think the term year of mobile only exists at conferences, and we choose to name our panels, is this the year of mobile or not the year of mobile, to be frank, so that's why we keep talking about it. But, I think that along the lines of what Richy said, there are now more than 8 billion mobile devices on the globe, more than people on the globe. And so if you think about that and just kind of how we live our daily lives, there are more mobile devices than people who have access to things like shelter or clean water or the things that we need to live. So, this concept of year of mobile is almost one that we create for ourselves, but in fact it is transforming the way we live our lives. It is transforming the way people learn about brands for the first time. Someone talked about on the earlier panel, just watch our kids, watch our wives, watch our friends while the TV is on or while we're in meetings. They're experiencing their lives through the palm of their hand or their tablet. So I think this concept of year of mobile is really something we shouldn't talk about anymore, but okay. Advertisers are definitely jumping in.
So we agree, we're killing it here, right? None of us ever again mention it on stage or permit. We don't even sit on panels that label it like this anymore. So Mike Donahue, be warned. Marcus, how much? Maybe one way of sort of addressing this question is how much scale. I mean, some of them have talked about some of what they see. How much scale are you, as an advertiser, able to get out of a campaign? Say with a Millennial, just given you're an ad network, you got that pervasiveness.
Yeah, so just the big numbers. We reach 400 million people globally, about 160 million in the U.S. And we look at that from a build perspective, and we had two major brands basically take over our mobile impressions for co-viewing during the Super Bowl, basically from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we believe that you're reaching 30 to 40 million people in a time frame like that across mobile, which is a significant audience. And then you combine that with ultimately what spending is going on today. We don't release a lot about what particular advertisers do, but one of the things that we've released over and over again is the Ad Age 100 advertisers. And on average in 2012, of the 85 that we work with, the average spend with us was about $830,000. And obviously some are well above that and some are well below that, but it just gives you an idea that the scale exists in mobile today, certainly globally and in the US, and I think advertisers are starting to notice that.
Okay, so let's talk. So we're beyond sort of that it's here, it's now. There's scale, there's all this opportunity. How do some of you make the pitch? Those of you who are sort of out the front lines of sort of selling mobile to agencies or to marketers. I don't know. Who wants to take that?
I'll take that one. I think the struggle we've had, I think with every publisher, has just been getting agencies to not silo their digital money. I mean, I think traditionally it's been, here's my digital budget, here's my kind of experimental test mobile budget. And I think that's kind of held back some of the spending that should be happening in this marketplace for the last couple of years. I think what's been encouraging to us is we're seeing more and more agencies embrace this kind of platform agnostic approach to digital where, and I think Linda Yaccarino said this in the earlier panel, in terms of TV, where it's like broadcast and cable, like it doesn't really matter to the consumer. And I think that's how the consumer looks at digital content. So if they're on ESPN, they don't care if it's on the desktop or on their phone. It's just their sports scores and their news. Same with us from a music standpoint. So I think as more as we have that pitch out to advertisers, like, look, think about the audience, not the platform. That seems to be working pretty well, and we hope that brings more dollars into the marketplace.
So Michael, you're tasked with selling sort of mobile within the context of a very powerful TV company, even got magazines. So how do you go to market?
Yeah, I mean, carrying off Brian's words, and he used to work with us at ESPN, so I appreciate it to the heart. It's an extension. It's a holistic approach. It's also interactive, and the reality is mobile is different, but it can be concentrated similarly. So by example, we approach the market with video content identically to how we do on desktop. So for all intents and purposes, the call to actions are very unique in as much as you're going to watch a pre-roll or post-roll. The technologies, the ad text are all similar. When it comes to the differentials that Richy mentioned, however, I think one can't ignore both touch and location. Yeah. And I think that does cause grievances with agencies because their usual suspect is to bring the environment, the audience into a web page, and from there, transition the consumer and the fan into their experiences. But in mobile, you really want to move that upstream, and you also move it adjacent to the publisher with whom you're working. And the more you do that with rich media, the more you do that in a concentrated unit, you'll find advantages that are different from digital.
You know, we're seeing across broad swaths of agencies as a supporter for agencies that in the online world, probably 20% of the ads are rich media. In the mobile, tablet, and cell phone world, the device perception to your brain held here and held here is much different from a screen, whether it's a television screen or a PC across the room. That rich media may be making up almost 80% of what the advertising is. Because you've got this almost, I want to say, lean-in experience where you can play with it, pinch it, swipe it, look at the catalog, look at the product, and do so much more than you could when you're sitting there clicking on a screen. Right. And I would argue that we don't want to bring through the metrics that didn't work in online or that were kind of weak in online and move to what this medium can be. Things like engagement, things like the panel talked about earlier this morning, actual ROI. You can actually tell how people interact with Pandora and then buy the products, how they interact with ESPN. We're doing for a major hotel chain, the tech part of it, telling them exactly where their buy is on mobile or tablet, back to their booking engine, what actual revenue they're making from their ads, so that the agency can then go make a real informed decision in real time. Well, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, this worked better than that. And I think that's a much different metric than what was my click-through rate. What's the engagement? What's the purchase rate? It's a much more personal device, and they're using it much closer to themselves and to what they're, you know, it's a whole different, Michael was talking about this earlier, it's a whole different thought process for agencies and how they think about what they're doing versus online.
Right. Well, Michael, let's talk a little bit about that because you know you're the agency designate up here. Actually, one of the few mobile agencies within the big holding companies, I think. Yep. So how do you approach your clients, your marketers, in sort of what you tell them to do, how you advise them? And also this question, like, is there a hesitancy or where do they pull back from?
Sure, it's a very good point. I think those two are actually very closely linked because there's, you know, the one point that is not lost on clients these days is that that's where the audience is shifting to. The eyeballs, a very significant percentage of media consumption is shifting over to mobile devices, you know, 10, 15, 20% based on whose numbers you believe. And that's a very significant part of media consumption time. And in some audiences, it's for some demographic segments, it's even larger than that. But I think what
do you advise clients to be spending on mobile?
The benchmark that's out there, which is what the MMA put together, which was with the X% solution was coming out with 7%, which is a number which I support. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think our big challenge with brands is getting to the point where they actually have the ability to, you know, get good value and leverage 7% of their spend going into mobile. You know, I think across one of the biggest inhibitors to growth right now for the mobile industry is that there's still a significant lack of brand readiness. And what I mean by that is that many brands and you know, I think it'd be probably fair to say a majority of brands don't have the mobile infrastructure in place to capitalize on the value of a click. Somebody clicks on that ad or that search ad or scans that code, where are they going to go to engage? Yeah. Where are they going to go to interact? How are they going to make a transaction or capture an email address? Without that without those destinations, without that infrastructure in place to capture the value of mobile, brands aren't spending. So we have the 7% solution, the X% solution that MMA put out there. We have that conversation with our brands all the time. And much of that dialogue is how do we get you to the point where you can absorb, where you can digest that much mobile spend effectively and get
Michael,
benefit from it.
That's honestly making it even harder, though, for brands or agencies, right? Because I think what you're suggesting is there's a technology solution that's allowing somebody to do the analytics or to sort of monitor activity and bring that together in some way, or?
Mobile analytics is a challenge, will be a challenge, not as much, I think, as it gets the reputation for. It just needs to be done differently than online. It doesn't mean it's any better or worse, it just needs to be done differently. But I think, so that certainly is an issue. I don't think it's a major issue. Again, I think where the technology is lagging is on it's as simple as, do they have the mobile landing sites in place? Do they have the apps in place? Do they have the ability to track and scan codes? Do they have an SMS solution in place? What is their mobile touch points with consumers? Are they in place? Can they capture that engagement?
So partly assets, partly systems. Now, Richy, Medialets did a big deal with Publicis. Why don't you talk a bit more about that, what you provided there?
It really was based on a couple of things what Michael was talking about. It is a cookieless world in mobile and tablet. That's a big difference from the online world. A guy named Steve Jobs decided that Flash wouldn't work in the iPhone. So now Flash doesn't work. If you look at online, it's a T1 line, it's 4 browsers, and Flash is ubiquitous, and it just works everywhere. When you get to mobile, you're talking 12,000 devices, you're talking 8 to 10 operating systems, 100 browsers, 500 ad sizes, and HTML5 and JavaScript. It's not Flash. And one of the reasons that Publicis and the other holding companies are working with us is we are a fresh tech stack, not a 17-year, cookie-based stack, which is what the online world is working off. That's why we're ignoring that, and we're looking forward to give the holding companies and the agencies a real neutral third-party tech company that can say, you bought 10 million impressions, you got 10 million impressions in a cookieless world, and it was delivered in a much more complex world. You're talking cellular, you're talking a whole different type of latency, you're talking can the device even accept the ad, and you have to have a good decision tree to do that. So it becomes much more complicated, but we don't want to scare agencies. We want to have, and there's a bunch of companies out there that are doing all kinds of good stuff to make it easier for agencies to understand how to play in this world.
What are some of the others doing to make it easier, recognizing that you have the, it's in your advantage to do that? Marcus, I don't know, what's Millennial doing?
Yeah, so I think the technology of mobile is complicated. And I think a lot of the challenges that agencies and we face on a day-to-day basis is telling the story in mobile. And I think that's kind of what gets lost sometimes when we start to talk about tracking and all that. And the fact of the matter is mobile is redefining relevance in the digital world. I mean, it's, the context that someone is physically in and you're advertising to tells a lot about who that person is and how to make that ad more relevant to them. And then you have to engage them with the ability to tell the story. We did this great campaign with Activision for the latest release of Black Ops Call of Duty, and we really like to do things that are uniquely mobile. But here it is, it's a great game, it's a fantastic television ad campaign. It's all about people dressed up in street clothes. There's a soldier in all of us, these fantastic battle scenes with people dressed up as policemen, doctors, nurses. What we did to that is we translated that story to the mobile device, which is a great creative unit that allowed a user to tap into the camera function on their device, take a picture of themselves, put themselves superimposed in the battle, and then forward it to a friend via Facebook, et cetera, which is really taking advantage of the ability to tell a story. This transformation, the idea effect, this is what mobile gives us the opportunity to do that. And I think a lot of times, the conversations we have, even in digital, we start to talk a lot more about technology, about the challenges, and we forget the fact that advertising is all about the day in the life of the consumer, and they wake up and they use their Gillette razor and they wash their hands with Dove soap, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're doing all that with their mobile phone now, and the ability to tell that story is kind of what we really need to remember, because that's where the eyeballs are.
So this is an idea conference. Let's go through some of the other opportunities that you've seen in mobile. I don't know who's got an example.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Michael?
I always ask aloud, when you think of mobile commerce, what's your reaction? Most people still say food truck.
Yeah.
But the reality is, when you look at the physical device of mobile, it bridges digital and big box retail and QSR. So I look at Dunkin' Donuts with admiration, where you can't escape mobility, as well as Starbucks, and the whole CRM relationship is being transformed because of mobility. Right? Our responsibility as publishers historically have been to bring your brands into our audiences, and then that's very transactional and brand awareness building. But now it's becoming so cooperative and collaborative that you're getting direct response opportunities with these consumers as they're using your services. And with the physicality of mobile, you're literally one touch away from them. So if you've used the Starbucks apps and recently Dunkin' Donuts, you can't escape the ease of which, despite the complexities of mobile, you can add a offer or add a redeemable passbook that's measurable. And then there's other technology firms that are actually allowing you to correlate your media investments and then further use a radius to understand whether or not that fan or consumer actually showed up in big box retail or QSR. So I think this exploitation of mobile commerce, not just the emulation of e-commerce on mobile, but the true physical purchase is going to be transformative.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Was it eBay who came out recently and said they did $20 billion in mobile commerce? Yeah.
Well, 10% of all e-commerce is now via mobile.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of brands are starting to realize the potential, that mobile brings to their brand. So even earlier today, the Geico example in their app, and I think when consumers can find value in the app, it's not just kind of straight advertising and I'm just going to blast you. I think that's where a lot of brands are starting to find value, and they're starting to really bring extra benefit to their target consumers, and we're seeing a lot of that.
How about an example from Pandora about what a client's done?
I think one thing we did was pretty cool a few months ago. We had a sports beverage, who shall remain nameless, that did a really cool campaign where it was about a new drink, and they wanted to really integrate music with that. And so they did a really cool rich media campaign where you could drag and drop certain icons and create these kind of music stations that were themed on certain attributes of the drink. And for them, it was really successful. They never really thought about music and sports together and quite in the mobile environment. And so I think for them, they just saw all their KPIs were through the roof. I think it was a great user experience for us because it didn't feel like an ad. It felt more like content. I think that's really what the potential that mobile brings to advertising, is to really think about it differently and almost have it be, I hate to use the word advertorial, but almost it's kind of as the consumer gets something. It's not just a straight ad.
So I know we wouldn't mention the year of mobile again, and therefore I've just done it. But it seems that if you've got the reach, if you've got this big opportunity, if it's being made simple, I mean, really, what's slowing things down, Michael? And even if you believe in 7%, then why aren't all clients spending 7% at this point? If that's the optimized level for a brand to be spending, why not?
Sure. Again, I go back what I mentioned earlier. I think there is still a real lack of brand readiness. Somebody does click on a banner, where do you send them? You have to be able to capture the value of that spend. Second, I think
But when do they catch up, though, or how do they catch up? Because consumer usage is like this, right?
It's actually that's a very good point. I think one thing that all of us in the agency world need to realize very crisply is that innovation in the mobile space, in a large part, is being driven by the consumer. Dual screening is a behavior that consumers kicked off. Showrooming was going on way before all of us as marketers caught up. So much of the innovation, consumers are a step ahead of all of us as marketers, and that's something we do need to catch up. And I think right now we are. The industry in many ways is still very young. We are still just being able to demonstrate an ROI. The business models are just now emerging. And if we were to roll back the clock to where we were 12 months ago or 24 months ago, huge progress is being made. It's not slowing down. Big investment needs to be made by the brands and by the agencies to get their capabilities, knowledge, and infrastructure up to speed. But I think it is all it's a well-recognized path.
Correct.
Now it's just time and money.
So it's an ROI issue? They just need to understand the ROI?
I think that is a very big part of it. Yes.
My concern is that if you go back to the early days of digital, a lot of brands kind of sat it out, and some agencies did, and they waited for it to come to them. And your point about, look, there's native advertising, there's all different types of advertising, ways to do stuff, ways to integrate things. My concern is that agencies feel they have as much time as they did, and clients, back in the early days of digital. And you actually said earlier, as ESPN is saying it's a mobile-first world, when we heard the Oreo example yesterday, I would argue that they're now thinking it's a mobile-first world, and that every advertiser needs to say, okay, how do I get to a mobile-first world? Because they've got to get their landing pages, they've got to get their digital presence to work mobily, which is a very big, different issue. And I'm concerned that they think they have time to be a fast follower, where the rate of change, which we saw from 1995 to 2005, I think is being really constricted from 2010 till now. I think the explosion of these devices and the way the consumers have adopted them is much faster than it was in the early days of digital. And that scares me that agencies are going to have to jump in, and it's going to be messy. Not everything works. Not everything works. Technically, not everything works brand-wise, but you're going to have to learn, because when that tipping point happens and everybody and more people access the web, it's happening outside the United States, it's going to happen here. Right. That's going to be a huge difference for agencies and for brands and for planning.
I do want to give the agency side of that, being the designated agency guy up on the panel. I do want to give the agency side of that response, which is, it's not lost. It's not lost on anybody that this is where mobile is where a good chunk of consumers' time is shifting, a good chunk of their media time is shifting. We all read the same trades. We all see what's going on. I think we're also stuck in a stage right now that mobile is fairly intensive. Budgets are small. It is a very low margin, if not negative margin activity for the agencies. I think there is no doubt that we would all love to see more money flowing in. We'd love to see the clients paying more. We'd love to see some type of co-investment where we could grow this space. But there is plenty of stress and strain in taking in. The agencies alone can't mature mobile. And it's going to take a lot more investment in the space across the board to get all of us where we need to be for mobile to reach its full potential.
Totally agree with that. We're talking an awful lot about the mechanics of buying and selling mobile, but just to go back to something that you said earlier, Michael, about the consumer sort of leading the way. I think that if you look at some of the great things we're doing with Medialets, that deal we announced, there's so much rich data and consumer insight available in mobile. If you look at a digital impression on a tablet, a 728 by 90, you can look at, a lot of folks can just look at the content of that and understand how to determine the relevance and who to show that ad or what kind of ad to show. But if you think about the data available in mobile, that could be an iPad impression at a Hyatt hotel in Orlando on a Saturday, and that context helps you understand a lot more about that consumer and the relevant ad to deliver. Another quick example. Who's more likely to be in market to buy a car? Is it someone who is surfing automotive interest sites, or someone who's been on a car lot frequently? There is so much data that's available, not just for the targeting, which is the buying and selling of media, but also then to give back to the agencies who are looking to provide value to their client. ROI is the number one thing, but also insight into consumers of what these consumers who are only going to use mobile going forward, right. How they are acting and interacting with the brand and understanding those sorts of things. So I think on the buying and selling side, it's definitely complicated, but the real insights that we have available and pumping that data back into the system, all of us as an ecosystem, helps educate everybody and ultimately, I think, eases some of that pain.
What do you think agencies don't get that you think they either should get, or that's kind of a negative question? Or you could take it from the standpoint of, what's sort of this unique thing that they should understand that they maybe not be aware of? I mean, you just mentioned the importance of location and sort of what that can mean. Maybe others pick up on that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, because I think to me, that's the biggest problem. And I think we as publishers tend to, say, look, we need more money in mobile, and agencies to do it differently. But I think publishers have not given agencies and clients enough justification to move more money into mobile with the analytics. I think we as an industry have been so reliant on the click-through rate as the baseline metric, and it's an awful metric. I liken it to, if anybody saw the movie or read the book Moneyball, it's like focusing on batting average. And not counting any of the factors that go into getting on base and scoring runs. And if you look at just click-through rate, you're ignoring the amount of time spent with that publisher, the return visits, the engagement that rich media brings to it. We're ignoring like every other metric that really does drive the KPIs for a client. And when you look at click-through rate, who clicks on ads, they're generally less affluent, less educated. They're either super young or super old, and no offense to those super young or super old people, but that's just not the audience that most advertisers are going for, but yet that's who clicks on ads. So if we're using that as our success metric, then we as an industry are failing. And that's where we've been for a long time on the digital and mobile space. And that has to change.
Michael, what do you see when you talk to marketers or agencies? They either don't get or should get, or what you wish they got, or?
I mean, my counsel is emulate yourself as if you're in the chair of your brand champion. So if you look at a Walgreens app, which I admire, the other differential I think between desktop and mobile, well, one is it's mobility. We talked about location, but it's also convenience. And the fact that there's utility that's actually both convenient and, if anything, refreshing to the fan, we call them fans, consumer, is rewarding in itself. Forget the media investment, forget the populace of how to actually get awareness raised for that product. But I think just as much as it was probably 5 to 10 years ago, if you didn't have a website, who were you? If you don't have a mobile app investment, whom are you as a brand? Whether you're CPG, QSR, big box retail, just think of yourself and what you do as a consumer and the expectation that's coming.
Who's got another case study of what a marketer's done? Somebody had a hotel or consumer. Do you have a consumer electronics one?
Sure. No, we can talk consumer electronics. I think that's a great brand to talk about mobile, because consumer electronic products tend to be high touch, high consideration products, which is perhaps not immediately intuitive on a small screen device. But we've actually been seeing some really tremendous results in the consumer electronics space. And what's been giving us a lot of that lift is somewhat cracking the code between how mobile interacts with other channels and what the true value with mobile looks like. And in the consumer electronics space, and this is different if we're looking at CPG or virtual goods or some other spaces, but what we are seeing is that the ability to create and drive engagement on a mobile device is very, very dramatic. CPMs are very reasonable, click-through rates are very high, engagement times are deep. So the ability to get people in the funnel and start them down that path, mobile has really been tremendous. So getting people in, getting them involved is about, it's about 90% less on a quality engagement basis than online. But once we get people into the funnel, we're seeing that online it's a conversion engine. 14 times more likely once you get to the bottom of the funnel on consumer electronics to convert online from mobile.
So Michael, does the funnel even matter anymore, or you kind of reference it there, or is it path to purchase now really the sort of new nomenclature?
Well, referencing path to funnel is to where the consumer is in their purchasing decision. They still have to, there's always going to be an awareness consideration in a transaction part of the decision-making process. If it's virtual or physical, yes, I think much of that is being unbundled and unpacked very, very rapidly. But what we found recently in consumer electronics space where mobile is really delivering a great value is that looking at an equal number of impressions, what we found is that combining mobile with online impressions has doubled our online conversion rate. So when you think about that, it has doubled the value of the online media being spent if half of those impressions were shifted to mobile. So taking the benefit of what mobile does very well, which is getting people engaged in very personal, intimate experience to get them moving down the funnel, and then re-engaging those same consumers in the online space for the last 10 feet to the goal line has given us, again, for the online guys, it has doubled the value of their spend out in the space.
Right. We're seeing at least a 2.5 to 3 times on average increase in time spent and engagement across every agency and every campaign we've served in rich media and mobile than you see in online.
Wow.
Across every category.
Okay, I'm going to come back to one last question, but because I didn't tell you in advance, I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to tell the audience something. So your favorite app. I want to know what your favorite app is and a quick explanation why, because we don't have a lot of time. I also want to mention, too, just to this ROI question, the MMA is actually doing a lot of research around cross-media understanding of mobile. And in fact, we'll pay for half the cost of a marketer's study if interested. So, and we're doing that project in conjunction with the 4A. So if you're interested in finding out more, maybe catch me afterwards. But it's under the acronym called SMOCS. You don't have to know what it is, but we're doing that. It'll be a big study coming out probably third quarter this year. So favorite app. Can't be your own, by the way.
I would, TripIt has changed my life, so I will go with TripIt.
I won't say Pandora. I've always been partial to ESPN for a lot of reasons, so being able to get my scores whenever I want, it's been
Should have qualified. Your own or somebody else's on the panel you can't use. Go ahead.
This is good because I got more than one. New York Times, read it every morning. The Times on the iPad app is great. Love my Sports Center app. And I love Vino, which is a great one to capture because I can't remember anything. The bottles of wine you drank.
Sorry, Brian, I like Spotify.
I'm actually changes all the time, but right now it's Temple Run Oz, which is a great example of a brand taking over a mobile experience.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time. Thanks.